ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. It's Untethered Live on a Sunday night. That's Bible study night. I'm your host, Jake Johnson, and tonight we are in the great book of 2nd Chronicles, chapter 21, verse 16. So break your Bibles out and get them handy because we're going to get into it. CWL, you're the first in chat. You get the gold star. Here's your gold star. Amanda, good to see you, sweetheart. Happy birthday, love. Hope you had a great day. I did have a great day. My sister made me a great birthday dinner, and I had a good time having a conversation with her and playing with the baby. And then I got to ride home in the rain. I rode there in the rain, but that's okay. It wasn't that bad. But on the way home, it was rainy. But that's all right. I'm here. I'm frizzy, but that's okay. And I'm ready to rock and roll. How about you? Hope you had a good day, too. Amanda says, hi, chat. Good to see you. Hi, all. Jake, how are you tonight? I'm fantastic. How are you tonight, CWL? CWL says, I'm okay. Amanda says, it's good to hear. Cole Creekcroft, what's up, brother? He says, congratulations on another full orbit, Jake. Hello, chat et al. CWL, Amanda. Hello, Cole Creekcroft. And thank you for the congratulations on the orbit. I have been orbiting. Amanda says, Cole, hi. CW says, hello, CCC. Fab Daddy, what's up, buddy? So it's your birthday. It's my birthday, too. Yeah. Is it really? My happy birthday. Hope you had a great one, too. CWL says, I watched your last Iron Rat video. Good stuff. I love it. He's killing it with the Iron Rat. I love it. Amanda says, I had a busy afternoon. Good. Cold Creek Cross says, CWL, something to do. Whether it's constructive or not, that's a different story. At least I ain't drinking or gambling. That's right. Lisa Reen, what's up, dear? Welcome to the show. She says, I am coming at the grocery store right now. See ya. See y'all soon. Well, Lisa Reen, be careful. Those aisles get slippery. Don't do that at a grocery store. Do that in the safety of your own home. Amanda says, hi, Fab. I'm sorry, I should have said that. Amanda says, Lisa Reen, hi, hon. Cold Creek Croft says, Lisa Reen, Fab Daddy, Alpine Gulch. Happy birthday, Jake. Howdy, chat. Hey, Alpine, how are you? Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Fab Daddy says, it's a Beatles song, not my birthday. Really? Well, it is my birthday, so nah. Alpine says, wow, Fab Daddy. Amanda says, hi, Alpine. Fab Daddy says, hi, everybody. Tonight's episode is brought to you by this hot cup of coffee and the letter L and the number 6. Why not? It's constructive, says CWL. Yeah, give somebody something to look at. Nice. Nice to have videos out there. It's a lovely day, albeit rainy. Cold Creek Cross says, Alpine Gulch, thanks again for the texts and info. We'll have some words soon. Good. Fab Daddy says, how has your day been, Jake? It's been wonderful. I went over to my sister's house, and she cooked me a nice big dinner. It was very lovely. Had cube steak and collard greens and black-eyed peas and fried squash and rice and birthday cake, my favorite, spiced with buttercream frosting. It was delicious, and a nice hot cup of coffee. It was good. I had a good birthday. How was your day? Fab Daddy says, oh, yeah, my sister takes good care of me. She's a good sister. Nice to have a home-cooked meal every once in a while. I hadn't ate that good since Thanksgiving. Nice big plate of food. Yummy, yummy. Oh, and gravy. There's gravy on the cube steak. Alpine says, LOL, does that mean you want it or not, Cold Creek Croft? Amanda says, yummy. It was yummy. Thank you. I had to break out my auctioneer accent here in a minute. Fat Daddy says, I got caught up on the news. Well, I'm sorry about that. The news seems to be rather drab these days, does it not? Doesn't seem to be a lot of good stuff going on in the world. Of course, there never has been, but that's beside the point. It's especially egregious now. And, Cold Creek Croft says, I really would. I just need to figure out how to get down there and get my brother to grab it. He's only 2 hours away. So it sounds like he's working on the logistics there, Alpine. Yeah, that's why I didn't read that, because I figured that's who that came to. Auction. Hey, better now. Anyway. I used to know that song, but I can't remember it now. That's only been 30 years ago. Fab Daddy says, your birthday is wonderful news. I'm eating a can of condensed chicken soup. Well, if you add water to it, it's no longer condensed. It's just chicken soup. Just add a little water to it. It's good for you. Alpine says, free Dodge Dynasty, LOL. If it wasn't a 4-day journey, I would come get it right now. But there's no way I could do that logistically. But I hope that it works out. Sister to the New Yorker, yes. I had a Dodge Dynasty back in 2000 or 99, somewhere in that area. A white one. And it was nice. I liked it. Could outrun a state trooper on it. I know that. Of course, he eventually caught up with me and he didn't think it was funny. But other than that, it was a good running car. Very, very solid. Nice and comfortable. That was before the neon. Before they just crapped out and started making things out of tin cans. I can store it for 4 months for $133. Oof. Well, if for whatever reason Cold Creek Croft can't figure out a way to get to it, we'll talk. We'll figure something out. It's not that far for me. I just have to get to a town with a bus. I bet I can work with my brother in Colorado. He could be there in a couple of hours. That would be perfect. And I really want to keep it, says Alpine Gulch. It breaks my heart. It runs fine. But if it helps somebody out, that's even better. But I understand where you're coming from there. And thank you, by the way. I don't know if I said that earlier. Thank you for offering it. April Rain, what's up, sweetheart? She says, happy birthday, Jake. We love you. I don't know. You don't know if you love me? Oh, I don't know if Kevin is coming or not. Hello, everyone. I'm driving, so I won't be talking very much. I'm here and listening. Much love, everybody. Well, thank you for that beautiful song you sent me, April. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Me and my sister sat and watched it. It was lovely. I got a nice little birthday song from April in my text messages, so I appreciate that. Cold Creek Croft says, I-90 straight north to Little Bighorn. Easy. The rub is the 80 miles from here to there. I think I can work it out, though. Good deal. April says, or Amanda says, "Hi, April, hon." And Alpine says, "Yes." Cold Creek Cross says, "April Rain." All right. If you recall, last Monday, we were in the midst of a battle that God set up for the sake of tearing down an evil king or two. And now this has been done, and he has been stricken with a deadly gut disease, so much so that his intestines falls out and he dies. Pretty gruesome diarrhea, what we're talking about. And that's where we're going to pick up. So, chapter 21, verse 16, if you got your Bibles handy, crack them open and let's get cracking. All right. What's that guy say? Enough flipping, flapping, let's make it happen. Anyway, I'll keep my own catchphrases. Thank you. Moreover, the Lord stirred up against Jehoram the spirit of the Philistines and of the Arabians that were near the Ethiopians. So that's three different groups he has stirred up against these people. Jehoram, King Jehoram, who is king of Judah at this moment, a bad king, doing bad things. And they came up into Judah and brake into it and carried away all the substance that was found in the king's house, and his sons also, and his wives, so that there was never a son left him, save Jehoahaz, the youngest of his sons. Now, I want you to keep that phrase in mind because we're going to come back to it in just a minute. Jehoahaz, the youngest of his sons. And after all this, the Lord smote him in his bowels with an incurable disease. They call it diarrhea these days. And it came to pass that in the process of time, after the end of 2 years, his bowels fell out by reason of his sickness, so he died of sore diseases. And his people made no burning for him, like the burning of his fathers, meaning they didn't build a funeral pyre and burn his body. And they didn't bury him with the kings, probably because it was gross. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to put that with the rest of the kings. But they did bury him in the city of David, just not in the king's sepulchres. So I guess that's something. 32 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years and departed without being desired, meaning nobody liked him. He was a very unpopular, evil dude. Howbeit, they buried him in the city of David, but not in the sepulchres of the kings. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, his youngest son, king in his stead. For the band of men that came with the Arabians to camp had slain all the eldest of his sons, and Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, reigned. Now, is that a contradiction? Sounds like one, doesn't it? Did the Bible just correct itself? Is there a mistake in 2 Chronicles? Well, no. Here's what happens to atheists. They hear something like that, and they freak out about it and do all kinds of debates and point it out to everybody that'll listen. Look, there's a mistake in the Bible. Let me read it to you again so that you see it is not a mistake. Up here at the top, Jehoram is battling with the Philistines, the Arabians, and the Ethiopians. And they came into Judah to the king's house and carried away all of his property, his wives, and his sons, and left his youngest son, Jehoahaz, in the king's house. That's the youngest son that was in the king's house. But down here it says that the inhabitants of Jerusalem, not Judah, Jerusalem, made Ahaziah his youngest son in his stead king. Well, Ahaziah is the youngest of his sons, period. Jehoahaz is the youngest of his sons that was in the king's house. You see, if you read it carefully, it parses out the truth. And if you just read youngest son and you read it twice and you see two different names, it's easy to fall into that trap and think that you've read a mistake. It is not a mistake. He had a lot of sons, and most of them were killed by the Arabians there. the older ones. But he had a couple of younger sons. Naturally, the youngest son or the firstborn would be, or the most recent. Usually, the firstborn would be the king in his stead, but in this case, all of his older sons were killed, and he had two sons left, or two younger sons left. One of them was at the king's house in Judah. The other one was in Jerusalem proper, which is a city. Judah is actually a tribe's name, but they camped in other places, not in Jerusalem. So there's where the mistake is. It's not a mistake. There's where the discrepancy is. I hope that helps. Anyway, 42 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign. Now notice, they called him his youngest sons. You're thinking 6 or 7. Well, he's 42 years old. So that means Jehoahaz is older by a little bit. Might be 43 years old. Anyway, so he was 42 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned for 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name also was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. And he also walked in the ways of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor to do wickedly. Seems like that happens a lot in these days. They didn't learn anything. He just watched the king get killed by God because he was evil, and the very next king that gets set up, evil. Go figure. It seems to happen that way. Even back then, they were desperate for a reprieve of something good to occur, like we're doing right now, hoping and praying that this next election cycle will bring us a little peace. Let the prices go down a little. Let the economy smooth out a little. Let the wars end a little. Let the walls be built a little. We hope, we pray, and we vote so that that will happen. That was happening back then too. So many bad kings. You might as well call them Democrats. That's exactly what they are. Doing wickedly. So there you go. Wherefore he did evil in the sight of the Lord, like the house of Ahab. For they were his counselors after the death of his father to his destruction. And that's how evil does. Evil begats evil, in case you didn't know. It will lead to your downfall if you engage in evil things. Period. You want to survive? You want to live a long time? Try to be humble. Try to be good. Try to walk in the ways of God. If you do wickedly, you might be very successful, but you won't be that way for long, because of ultimately it will lead to your downfall. And that's just the way it is. He walked also after their counsel and went with Jehoram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, to war against Hazael, king of Syria, in Ramoth Gilead. And the Syrians smote Jehoram. Well, obviously, because God's not with him and God didn't tell him to go to that battle. So he lost. Shocker, I know. And he returned to be healed in Jezreel because of the wounds which were given to him in Ramoth Gilead, or Ramah, same place. Ramoth Gilead, Ramah, same place. You're switching languages here. That's why it's a little different spelling in your book. Up there it says Joram without the H. It's Jehoram. It's just a different language, but it's the same name. Same thing with Ramoth Gilead, and then down here it says Ramah. It's the same place. When he fought with Hazael, king of Syria, and Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, back to the Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Jehoram, the son of Ahab, at Jezreel because he was sick. There's a lot of that going on these days. So the king of Israel came to see Jehoram at Jezreel. Jezreel. Say that 3 times fast. Jezreel. A lot of E's in that language. Jezreel. And the destruction of Ahaziah was of God by coming to Jehoram. For when he was come, he went out with Jehoram against Jehu, the son of Nimshi, who the Lord had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. Now, Jehu is whom, see if I can get this right. Jehu is one of the good kings, and God had appointed him out of nowhere, seemingly, to take over for the two different split tribes. Remember, the tribe of Judah split. So Israel's over here and Judah's over here. They're not together at this moment, but Jehu will eventually facilitate them coming back together as one tribe. Anyway, he was anointed by God. So this battle against Jehoram is of God. God put this in array against him to defeat him. And it came to pass that when Jehu was executing judgment upon the house of Ahab and found the princes of Judah, the sons of the brethren of Ahaziah that ministered to Ahaziah, he slew them. So even his children and his brothers and his friends and everybody, his counselors, they're all getting executed by Jehu. But Ahaziah has slipped through his fingers for the moment, so we'll see how that turns out. And he sought Ahaziah, and they caught him, for he was hid in Samaria, of all places, and brought him to Jehu. And when they had slain him, they buried him, because they said, he is the son of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart. So the house of Ahaziah had no power to keep still the kingdom. So, what does that mean? They gave him an honorable burial because of his father's sake, because his father was a good man, Jehoshaphat. But Ahaziah was not a good man. He did seek God with all his heart, but Ahaziah walked after the ways of Ahab, not a good guy. So they gave him a good burial, but none of his family had any power to keep the kingdom or to keep status quo, to keep things going as it were. Jehu was about to take over, full stop, because this reign of David's lineage has come to an end. Now, Jehu, it turns out, is also in the lineage of David, albeit on another side. So there's still a man of David on the throne. It's just not the line that was there previously. See what I'm saying? David had a lot of children. So anyway, but Jehoshabeath, that's her name, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that were slain. This is yet another infant son. So you've got to look out for Joash. He's going to be king one day too, but not for a while. He's got to grow up. Anyway, she stole him from among the king's sons that were slain and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So Jehoshabeath, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah. So his sister, the child's aunt, took the child and hid it, so that when all of the other children were being killed and the one Ahaziah being put on the throne, this child remained hidden. Now, that means even though this family has been entirely eradicated, they have no power to keep power. They have no strength to keep power. There is yet an heir to the throne. And as long as that child stays alive, they can contest the power later on. That's why she's done this. Hid him from Athaliah so that she slew him not, because she was going to kill him, obviously. You don't want to leave any heirs to the throne. This is a rough business being king, and sometimes it means killing everybody to keep from the wrong people being king, or so politically it would seem expedient to keep certain people from being king. That's much like the battles we're having today between the Democrats and the Republicans. It's kind of like that, but different, and it involves people's lives. And he was with them hid in the house of God for 6 years, and Athaliah reigned over the land. So for all those people that think that women don't have any power in the Bible, this woman was a king for a while, metaphorically speaking, queen, as it were. She reigned in the stead of the king for a little while, for at least 6 years. They didn't have a problem giving her power. Take that, feminist. Okay. And in the 7th year of Jehoiada, strengthened herself. In the 7th year, that's 7 years after, Jehoiada strengthened herself and took the captains of hundreds Azariah, the son of Jehoram, and Ishmael, the son of Jehohanan, and Azariah, the son of Obed, and Mashiach, the son of Adiah, and Elishaphat, the son of Zikri, into covenant with him. So now they have a cabinet, for lack of better words. Bring back duels. I agree, Alvine. I agree. I think we should bring back kings, but that's my statement on the subject. Anyway. And they went about in Judah and gathered the Levites out of all the cities of Judah and the chief of the fathers of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. So they're building a cabinet here. They're building an administration, for lack of a better word. They're getting everybody together so that they can contest the throne. We'll see what happens. And all the congregation made a covenant with the king in the house of God. And he said unto them, Behold, the king's son shall reign as the Lord hath said of the sons of David. Well, that is true. That's what God said. And that is what ends up happening. But remember, we got two different lines of David competing for power right now. So either way, it'll still be from the line of David. It's like the Schwartz. It's the upside and the downside. You know what I mean? You got the good Davids and the bad Davids. We'll see. This is the thing that ye shall do. A third part of you entering in on the Sabbath of the priests and of the Levites shall be porters of the doors. You'll seat everybody. And a third part shall be at the king's house. And a third part shall be at the gate of the foundation. And all the people shall be in the courts of the house of the Lord. So everybody's got a job to do. Go start doing it. And the Levites shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapons in his hand. And whosoever else cometh into the house, he shall be put to death. But be ye with the king when he cometh in, and when he goeth out. You will protect the king at all costs. And if anybody tries to get near him, you kill him. Simple as that. You stand there with your sword in your hand. So the Levites and all Judah did according to all the things that Jehoiada the priest had commanded, and took every man his men that were to come in on the Sabbath with them that were to go out on the Sabbath. For Jehoiada the priest dismissed not the courses. So there were still courses in the temple, and each priest has to serve their course, but they're surrounded by guards going in and coming out. It does sound important to the lands of the area, and you are correct. And this battle that is occurring here is no different than the battle that's occurring there now. It's the same group of people fighting over the same thing. They call it different things, but it's the same battle. They're still vying for power, two different families, two different factions, the Ishmaelites and the Isaacites, or the Jacobites, however you want to call it. Moreover, Jehoiada the priest delivered to the captains of hundreds spears and bucklers and shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of God. So now they're armed and they're shielded. They're ready to go to war. And he said, all the people, every man having his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the temple to the left side of the temple, along by the altar and the temple by the king round about. He was completely surrounded by guards. If he went that way, all the guards went that way with him. Then they brought out the king's son and put upon him the crown and gave him the testimony and made him king. And Jehoiada and his sons anointed him and said, God save the king. Who's this king? It's Joash. You remember that guy? Now, when Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she came to the people into the house of the Lord, and she looked, and behold, the king stood at his pillar at the entering in, and the princes and the trumpets by the king. And all the people of the land rejoiced and sounded with trumpets, and also the singers with instruments of music, with a K. That's weird. And such as taught to sing praise Then Athaliah rent her clothes and said, "Treason, treason!" What are you an election denier there, Athaliah? You don't believe that's the rightful true heir to the throne? You think maybe they did some ballot box stuffing there, honey? You want to go talk to the news about it? Well, guess what? Canceled. You can't do that. He is the king. He was made king. The mob calls him king. So he's the king. Doesn't matter if your guy won or not. Know what I'm saying? Anyway, he's the king for a little while because, 4 years is almost up. Anyway, then I'm getting sidetracked. Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds that were set over the host and said unto them, "Have her forth of the ranges, and whoso followeth her, let him be slain with the sword." For the priest said, "Slay her not in the house of the Lord." What does that mean? Have her forth of the ranges. That means take her outside to the range and fill her full of arrows, basically. But don't do it here. Have everybody that follows her killed too. That's what a priest told them to do. Imagine the priests in those days. So they laid hands on her, and when she was come to the entering of the horse gate, by the king's house, they slew her there in the stables. And Jehoiada made a covenant between him and between all the people and between the king, that they should be the Lord's people. Well, who's right here? Who's in the right? Well, clearly, the old guard is not in the right because they were following after the house of Ahab. So they rightfully have been slaughtered. The new guy, albeit a little suspect, he was the rightful heir to the throne, and they did anoint him under cover and under much guards. They had the National Guard in there with, fences up everywhere, just in case January 6th, the house of the Lord gets surrounded by Athaliah supporters, if you know what I'm saying. And so they made him king, and he is the rightful king. But he's a little suspect. But the other guy was worse in this case. So it's a little opposite of the way things are happening now, but it's the same kind of thing. You understand? And to the ranges. Yikes. Then all the people went to the house of Baal and break it down, and break his altars and his images in pieces, and slew Mattan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. Well, that's one of the reasons that the old guard got kicked out by God, because they were Baal worshipers, not God worshipers. So you got to keep that in mind. So even though they are of the line of David, even though they are the rightful heirs to the throne at the moment, they were in the wrong. So they deserved to be dethroned, and so they were. Also, Jehoiada appointed the officers of the house of the Lord by the hand of the priests, the Levites, whom David had distributed in the house of the Lord, to offer the burnt offerings of the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and with singing, as it was ordained by David. So they're bringing back the old way of doing things, which is to worship God round about the clock, all day and all night. Offer burnt offerings and sing praises, and they're bringing back to life the house of the Lord, which was diminished by the Baal worship that was happening all around. And he set the porters at the gates of the house of the Lord, that none which was unclean in anything should enter in. Well, that's the way it used to be, and they've kind of foiled the place up now, but as it has been set back to the way it's supposed to be, now you have to be clean, meaning free of disease and having touched nothing dead, and all the things that clean means before you go into the house of the Lord. If you even have a crooked nose, you're not supposed to go into the house of the Lord. If you got a withered up hand, you're not supposed to go into the house of the Lord, because you have to be perfect when you go in there. That's what the house of the Lord is. Think about it. Anyway, And he took the captains of hundreds and the nobles and the governors of the people and all the people of the land and brought down the king from the house of the Lord. And they came through the high gate into the king's house and set the king upon the throne of the kingdom. Young man as he were, he is now of the line of David, sitting upon the throne of Jerusalem, of Israel, of all Israel. He is the king now, and it's official. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet. And after that, they had slain Athaliah with the sword. Not arrows, not like he told her to, but she's dead nonetheless. Joash was 7 years old when all this took place, by the way. All that, killing of people and having the guards surrounding the king and anointing him and putting the crown upon his head and marching him through the high gate of the city and down the street and into the king's house and setting him up upon the throne. He was a 7-year-old. Just a wee baby, a wee lad. Think about that next time you feel like you got problems. Imagine what he's thinking. Anyway, he was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned for 40 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name also was Zebiah of Beersheba. Now, as you can tell by the amount of time that a king reigns, remember the other guy reigned like 4 years or 2 years or a year or whatever it was. He reigned for 40 years. Guess which one he is? Good in the eyes of God or bad in the eyes of God? Let's see. And Joash did that which was right in the sight of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. So as long as Jehoiada was the priest over the temple, the king listened to him and did what was right in the sight of God. Hands down, he was a good king after all those bad kings. Finally, you got a good one. It's time. And Jehoiada took for him 2 wives, and he begat sons and daughters. And it came to pass after this that Joash was minded to repair the house of the Lord. So he looks out and he sees what disrepair it has fallen into over the years of Baal worship and all of the people not caring about it and all that. So he's got in his mind, I'm going to fix this place up. There's a treasury in there, right? It's got lots of money in it. Let's fix it up. Let's put some of that money into the work of God. Because that's why you tithe, right? So that the work of God can continue. If you don't tithe, it don't continue. But there comes a time when you need to take that tithing and put it where it belongs, whether it be an outreach program or new paint on the walls. You got to use that money for the Lord. It's not just yours. You can't just go party and do blow and have hookers with it. You got to do what it's intended for, So there you go. And he gathered together the priests and the Levites and said to them, Go out into the cities of Judah and gather of all Israel money to repair the house of your God from year to year, and see that ye hasten the matter. Howbeit, the Levites hastened not. Why? Well, they're not as serious about it as the king is, obviously. They got their own way of doing things, the bureaucracy and all that. They kind of want to keep that money for themselves. Some of those priests we read about in other books, this is kind of a recap of stories we've already read. This is like the overall of it. But it turns out that some of those priests were quite hedonistic and kind of liked having all that cash and power, So they used it for their own benefits. Sometimes, not always, but in this case, definitely. Yes, I did, Alpine. Thank you very much. Happy birthday. Thank you. All right. And it will be used for what it was intended for. I promise you that. And the king called for Jehoiada the chief and said unto him, Why hast thou not required of the Levites to bring in out of Judah and out of Jerusalem the collection according to the commandment of Moses, the servant of the Lord, and of the congregation of Israel for the tabernacle of witness? Where's the money? I sent these guys out. I'm the king, right? That's what the label says. I'm a king, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, I dispatched men to go get money to tax the land every year and bring the money back so that we could afford to fix up the temple. Yet I'm looking out there and it hasn't been done. So where are the people I've dispatched? He's talking to the high priest here. What's going on with the whole thing? You know, I set it in motion. It should be carried out. So what's happening? Well, for the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman had broken up the house of God, and also all the dedicated things of the house of the Lord did they bestow upon Balaam. You understand? We need to get this place spiffy again. She made this place a wreck. And all of the great things, the dedicated things, the jewelry and the showbread table and all of the, you know, stuff that goes in the temple, they gave it to the Baal worship people. So we need that stuff back in the temple where it belongs, or replaced. Where's the money? And at the king's commandment, they made a chest and set it without at the gate of the house of the Lord. That's the way you should do it, by the way. Put a box, and when people come in to worship God, leave it up to them to put something in the box. And when the box is full, take that box and go do what you need to do with it. Simple as that. Everybody's happy. And they made a proclamation throughout Judah and Jerusalem to bring into the Lord the collection that Moses, the servant of God, laid upon Israel in the wilderness. What is this collection we're talking about? We're basically talking about a 10% tithe. It was made law that if you were of the 12 tribes, then it was bestowed upon you. It is your job to keep the temple going. The priest's job are to do the work of the temple, and they have to do it for free. They work tirelessly to bring the word to the people and to teach them the things they need to know and to be there for counsel and wisdom and, you know, witnesses and marriages and deaths and funerals and all that stuff. They have to do all of that by course. They're set up to do it. But the temple requires effort. It takes overhead. You understand? You can't run a business with no money. So it's upon the 12 tribes to give a little so that the temple can run efficiently for the 12 tribes. It's like a reciprocal thing. They give and the temple gives back and everybody's blessed. Well, that's how tithing is supposed to work. First of all, you should only tithe if you're a member of something. If you're not a member, you're not required to tithe. If you consider yourself a part of the thing, then it's your job to tithe. You're supposed to give to the ministry that feeds you. If you're not fed by it, you shouldn't give to it or be required to do so. That's just how it works. There'll always be people that just come in and go out, and they're not required to do anything. They're just shopping, basically. But if you're a member, it's your job. That's what this is saying. It's set up by the law of Moses, and they're not doing it. So the temple has fallen into disrepair, and this king is a little concerned about that, and rightfully so. Just checking what condition my condition is in. I got you. I don't know what that means. There was no intended intentions attached. No. I understand that. It means that I'm not going to go blow it. It's going to be used for something positive. That's all I meant by that. I'm very cautious with the money that comes into this ministry, however it gets here, to do something useful with it rather than just, I'm not going to go buy a guitar or whatever. That's not what that's for. It's not for me. It's for us. And I try to use it as such. Anyway, as much like what we're talking about here is basically the same principle, only these people are the 12 tribes that temple was built for, and it is their job to keep it going. And if they don't keep it going, they don't have a temple. And this is supposed to be God's house, so that's kind of important, wouldn't you think? Anyway, let's see how they feel about it. And all the princes and all the people rejoiced and brought in and cast into the chest until they had made an end, meaning they filled it up to the top. ATL Transparency, what's up, brother? What temple, the first or the second? Probably the second. We're in Second Chronicles, and the temple has already been destroyed once. So this is probably the rebuilt version of it. Who knows? Anyway, now it came to pass that at what time the chest was brought unto the king's office by the hand of the Levites, and when they saw that there was much money, the king's scribe and the high priest's officer came and emptied the chest and took it and carried it to his place again. Thus they did day by day and gathered money in abundance. What does that mean? Every time the chest got full, they'd bring it to the king and dump it out on his bed and then take the empty box back and fill it up again. That's how you take care of a temple. You keep that chest money going. It ain't got to be much. It doesn't take a lot, but it takes some. And everybody has to give a little so that everybody else can, enjoy the temple. It's very nice. That's how God intended it, by the way. And the king and Jehoiada gave it to such as did work for the service of the house of the Lord, and hired masons and carpenters to repair the house of the Lord, and also such as wrought iron and brass to mend the house of the Lord. So they appropriated this money and used it properly. They didn't blow it. They didn't increase their pockets. They hired real skilled labor to go in and fix that place up the way it's supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to do. That's the reason for it in the first place. Anyway, so the workmen wrought, and the work was perfected by them. And they set the house of God in his state and strengthened it. They made it look like it's supposed to look again. They made it beautiful again. They gave it its glory back from this disrepute of the Balaam worship that was going on in it at the time, during Athaliah's reign and her son, as it were. And when they had finished it, they brought the rest of the money before the king and Jehoiada, whereof were made vessels for the house of the Lord, even vessels to the minister, and to offer withal, and spoons and vessels of gold and silver. And they offered burnt offerings in the house of the Lord continually all the days of Jehoiada. So, what did they do with the rest of the money? Because they made more money than they needed. So they spent the money to hire workmen to fix up the place like it ought to be. And then there was this surplus. Well, what did they do with it? Did they stuff it in their pockets and go buy a Rolls Royce? No. They melted it down and made furniture and vessels for the temple. So all of the money went into the temple, whether it be by hiring somebody or to make an ornate cup or whatever it was they needed. It all went back to the temple. That's what a righteous king would do with the money that was designed for the temple. He put it in the temple. He put his money where his mouth is, and that's a good king. It's so easy to get sidetracked or to get corrupted by money coming in. It's so easy for people to just take advantage. You got to watch that. And anybody that does it, you need to run from them as far as you can, because those people do not have your best interest in mind. I'm telling you this because our government is doing that right now as we speak with your tax dollars. That money is intended to run the country. It ain't running the country. It's running other countries. It's doing lots of things. So you need to bring that up in your little brain when you go to that voting booth and vote for the people that are going to use the money the way it should be to run the country, who's got the country's best interest in mind. Because the country is all we need to care about. The rest of the world, that's their business. That ain't got nothing to do with us. That's what a country is. You don't have borders. You don't have a country. Simple as that. But Jehoiada waxed old, and was full of days when he died. 130 years old was he when he died. And they buried him in the city of David among the kings. That's how respected he was. He was buried in the sepulchre of the kings with kings, because he had done good in Israel, both towards God and towards his own house. I added the word own, but that's what it means, his house. Now, after the death of Jehoiada came the princes of Judah, and made obeisance to the king. Then the king hearkened unto them, because he fell for it. The British monarchy is crazy money. I agree. And they left the house of the Lord. And they left the house of the Lord God of their fathers, and served groves and idols. Those are the princes of Judah that came and corrupted the king, and he was easy to corrupt because he had only been doing good because Jehoiada was his North Star. When that guy died, the king didn't know how to act anymore. So he just went with whoever had a good voice, followed them, right? That's not really, I mean, consider who he's come from. He did try, but here they go, worshiping groves and idols. And wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for this, their trespass. What's the trespass? Worshiping idols in groves is always going to be a trespass. It's commandment number 1. I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, period. Burn that in your brain. No gods, no idols, no crucifixes, no crosses hanging on the wall that you worship. It's all right to have a cross. It's not all right to worship it. It's a cross. It means nothing. Plus, my God came off of that cross. He ain't still there. So there you go. A grove is a set of trees, and they used fir trees in rituals in those days. And they built high places in the groves. So it's kind of like a privacy fence of trees. And in the middle would be a altar that they would serve their false gods on. So yes, groves and high places and altars and idols, all bad. Don't do that. There is an altar to Almighty God, but don't do that either, because here's the thing. Here's the caveat. Jesus Christ became the ultimate sacrifice for all time, for all sin, always. There is never a reason to sacrifice for sin ever again, ever. Christ is that sacrifice. He is the sacrificial lamb. His blood was sprinkled on the mercy seat, metaphorically speaking, possibly. And you don't need to sacrifice anymore. So you don't have any need for altars. So anytime you go into a church and there's an altar call, question that pastor. Ask him if he actually knows what he's doing. Because there shouldn't be an altar in any churches. There shouldn't be an altar anywhere anymore, ever. There's no need for it. You want to talk to God? Get on your knees in your closet and talk to God. You don't need a priest to do that. You don't need any intercessor to talk to your Father. He will hear you. That's why Christ died, so that he could make a place for you in heaven. That means you have now access. When he died and the earthquake happened and the Temple Mount ripped open the veil from the top down, that was significant of the doors being kicked open to the holiest of holies so that everybody could come in. Because before that, only a high priest could go into the holiest of holies and commune with God. Now, everybody can. You can talk to God. All you got to do is strike up a conversation, and he will hear you. He may not answer you, and he might. I don't know. But he will hear you. He will listen to you, especially if you pray in the manner that he told you to pray in. And if you want to know what that is, ask Jesus. He gives a good example of it in the Gospels. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again unto the Lord, and they testified against them, but they would not give ear. They wouldn't listen. These priests of Judah and this king following after them, prophets of God came and tried to talk sense into them, and they just wouldn't listen. They didn't care. They got their own thing going on. And the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah the son of Jehoiada the priest, which stood above the people, and said unto them, Thus saith God, Why transgress ye the commandments of the Lord, that ye cannot prosper? Because ye have forsaken the Lord, he hath also forsaken you. Now, what does that mean? Why are you being hard-headed and going against what God told you to do, what you know to be true in your heart? Why are you doing that? Because you know it's going to make it where you can't prosper. What does prosper mean? It means to be successful, to be healthy, to have a good life, to have good children. You go against God, you can't have that. Then he says, because you forsook God. Who did? They did. God didn't forsake them. They forsook God. They turned their back on God. Once again, because you've turned your back on God, God has also turned his back on you. So the next time a battle arises, don't be calling my name, because I'm going to let you lay in the bed you made. That's what you want? You got it. Ask Baal if he'll help you. See how that works out. And they conspired against Zechariah and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Lord. They killed him at the temple, in the courtyard of the temple, the prophet of God, the son of the high priest Jehoiada, whom everyone loved, and buried him with kings. They killed him because he told them they were forsaken of God because of their actions. Sound familiar? Thus Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him, but slew his son. And when he died, he said, the Lord look upon it and require it. Pay attention, God. Look what your people are doing. Now do something about it. That's what that says. And it came to pass at the end of the year that the host of Syria came up against him, and they came to Judah and Jerusalem and destroyed all the princes of the people from among the people, and sent all the spoil of them unto the king of Damascus. So they didn't stand a chance. Assyria just tore them down, killed everybody. For the army of the Syrians came with a small company of men, and the Lord delivered a very great host into their hand, because they had forsaken the Lord God of their fathers. So they executed judgment against Joash. The Syrian army was but a small group of people. Jerusalem and Judah was a great army. And they were so tied down with red tape and bureaucracy that they could not even get it together to fight this small band of Syrians. They conquered them without breaking a sweat and killed all the princes of Judah and Jerusalem. And then they executed judgment on Joash, their king, who was started out a good king. For 40 years, he was a good king until his high priest died, and then he got corrupted. So even a good man can fall. Lisa Reen says, happy birthday, Jake. Thank you, Lisa Reen. I love you. Appreciate you. Thank you for the nice words. All right. So Joash is going down. And when they were departed from him, for they left him in great disease, his own servants conspired against him for the blood of the sons of Jehoiada the priest, and slew him on his own bed. They slew him in bed while he was sick. They didn't even battle him. They just came in and poked him with a stick, and he was dead. Done. And he died. And they buried him in the city of David, but they buried him not in the sepulchres of the kings. Why? Because he forsook God. That's a place for righteous men to be buried. Real kings of David, the line of David, not this nonsense mamby-pamby stuff they're doing these days. Get it out of here. We don't want it. Bring back the 10 Commandments. Sorry. And these are they that conspired against him: Zabad, the son of Shemith, and Ammonitis, and Jehozabad, the son of Shimrith, a Moabitess. So Ammon and Moab, two people that were supposedly killed back in the old days that never got killed, they sought revenge on Joash. Isn't it funny how at the very beginning, when God brought the Israelites up out of Egypt and they went across the desert for 40 years and they started to come into the land promised to them by God, the land of milk and honey, flowing, overflowing, the promised land. First thing God says is there's 5 tribes here. I want you to kill all of them, man, woman, child, and animal, and burn all of their belongings. Don't keep any of their gold. Get rid of it all. Stomp it to ashes and dump it in the river Kidron. Kill everybody. Well, they didn't do that. Among those tribes was Ammon and Moab. All these years later, king after 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 king. Here we are, and they're causing trouble. Well, God, if you'd have done what he told you to do in the first place, you wouldn't have that trouble now, would you? This wouldn't be possible had the Israelites done what they were supposed to do initially, but they didn't, and thus have always to this day had trouble with that group of people. That group of people has always claimed right to their land that God gave them. It is their land. God gave it to them. He kicked out the previous inhabitants and gave it to the Israelites. So it is their land. Yet the previous inhabitants are still there because they didn't kill them all. They subdued them, yes. They beat them, yes. But they conscripted them as slaves, and they paraded their kings around to show the battles that they won because of pride or whatever. And these people regained strength and regained number till they outbred them, and now they're a problem. This is what happens when you don't listen to God. Thousands of years into the future, still have problems. Listen to God. He knows beforehand what's going to happen, even when you can't make sense of it, even when it's something you couldn't possibly fathom, like 5,000 years later, you're going to have trouble with the same group of people. You can't see that coming, but if he told you to do it, by God, you need to do it because he knows what the end result will be. You do not. It's simple. Now, concerning his sons and the greatness of the burdens laid upon him of repair and the repairing of the house of God, behold, they are written in the story of the book of the Kings, and Amaziah, his son, reigned in his stead. And Amaziah was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned for 29 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Jehoaddan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, but not with a perfect heart. Meaning he still screwed up a little bit. He basically did the right stuff, but his heart wasn't all in it. Now it came to pass, when the kingdom was established to him, that he slew his servants that had killed the king his father. So there goes the people who killed the people who killed the people who killed the people. They're all gone now. And still, we got problems. But he slew not their children, but did as it is written in the law, in the book of Moses, where the Lord commanded, saying, the father shall not die for the children, neither shall the children die for the fathers, but every man shall die for his own sin. This is when this begins to occur. Writ large, they began to punish the man for his sin, not the man's family for his sin, which is a good thing. That's called democracy or whatever. Anyway, moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together and made them captains over thousands and captains over hundreds, according to the houses of their father, throughout all Judah and Benjamin. And he numbered them from 20 years old and above, and found them 300,000 choice men able to go forth to war, that could handle spear and shield. And he hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. But there came a man of God to him, saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee, for the Lord is not with thee, to wit, with all the children of Ephraim. Don't send your men out to battle right now, because God's not with you. He's with Ephraim. And if you go out to battle, you're going to get stomped. So don't do that. But if thou wilt go do it, be strong for the battle. God shall make thee fall before the enemy. For God hath power to help and to cast down. Translation: please don't go to battle. Don't take these men of Israel into battle, because God's not with you right now. He's with Ephraim. However, if you choose to not listen to me and you go anyway, grit your teeth and be tough, because you're going to fall. Because not only can God save you, he can hurt you too. Because that's the nature of God. If you're with him, he's with you. If you're against him, chances are he's not with you. Chances are you're going down, buddy. And this man, though he basically does what's right in the eyes of God, he does not have a perfect heart, meaning he leans towards idol worship ever so slightly. He's just a little, he's got one foot on each side, you know. I believe in God, but let's play with these guys too. Not good. Anyway, you can't serve two masters. Who do you serve? You can't serve two masters. You can't straddle the fence. Pick a side, pick a lane, stick to it. You can't have two. And Amaziah said to the man of God, but what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army of Israel? And the man of God answered, the Lord is able to give thee much more than this. Don't worry about the money you wasted hiring this army that God didn't tell you to hire. God can give you more if you'll abide by his word. He will give you more. So even if you're tapped out, even if that's all the money you got, do what God said do, and he'll take care of you. Watch and see. Then Amaziah separated them, to wit, the army that was come to him out of Ephraim, to go home again. Wherefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. So they were kind of pissed off that they had to go all the way there for no reason. No battle, to go home. But Amaziah strengthened himself and led forth his people and went to the valley of Salt and smote of the children of Seir 10,000. And the other 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away captive, and brought them unto the top of the rock, and cast them down from the top of the rock, that they were all broken in pieces. I added the word all, I didn't mean to, it just slipped out. But they were broken in pieces. That's what happens when you throw somebody off the top of a rock. But the soldiers of the army which Amaziah sent back, the Ephraimites, the ones God told him not to bring with him, that they should not go with him to battle, fell upon the cities of Judah from Samaria even to Beth-horon, and smote 3,000 of them, and took much spoil. Those are his people. They just attacked him. Now it came to pass after that Amaziah was come from the slaughter of the Edomites, Edom, which is Esau's territory. Esau owns Edom. Edom means red, so you know who we're talking about. It's one of two places. Anyway, still red, by the way. That he brought the gods, lowercase g, of the children of Seir, and set them up to be his gods. This is why God's not with him, because he doesn't pay attention. So he set up Seir's gods to be his gods, and bowed down himself before them, and burned incense unto them. Don't do that. Are you people morons? How many times do you have to do this before you figure it out? Stop it. Wherefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against Amaziah, and he sent unto him a prophet, second time, which said unto him, why hast thou sought after the gods of the people, which could not deliver their own people out of thine hand? You killed those people, and you're worshiping their gods? What's the matter with you? If they couldn't, those gods couldn't deliver them out of your hand, why are you bowing down to them? Are you that dumb? That's what this prophet is asking him. And it came to pass, as he talked with him, that the king said unto him, art thou made of the king's counsel? Who are you to be talking to me? Are you one of my councilmen? Forbear. Why shouldest thou be smitten? Then the prophet forbare and said, I know that God hath determined to destroy thee, because thou hast done this, and hast not hearkened unto my counsel. Burn! Sick burn! Ah! King gets smart with him and says, are you one of my councilmen? Why should you, God forbid, why should you be talking to me? I'm the king. And the prophet says, well, king, I'm talking to you because God's going to tear your tail up because you didn't listen to what I'm telling you. Sick burn. Get him, man of God. Then Amaziah, king of Judah, took advice and sent to Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, come, let us see one another in the face. Let us meet face to face. And Joash, king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, the thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, give thy daughter my son to wife. And there passed by a wild beast that was in Lebanon, and trode down the thistle. Thou sayest, lo, thou hast smitten the Edomites, and thine heart lifted thee up to boast. Abide now at home. Why shouldest thou meddle to thine hurt, that thou shouldest fall, even thou and Judah with thee? This is a little bit of poetry here, but basically what he's saying is you have won some battles and you've lost some battles, and now you want to come out and face to face and plan another battle? Why should you do that when you know you're going to lose? Everybody here can see it, but you're the only one that can't see it. God has sent a prophet to tell you not to do it and to stop worshiping false gods, and you still want to proceed? Why would you do that? Why would you fall and take us with you? In other words, I don't want to come meet you. But Amaziah would not hear, for it came of God that he might deliver them into the hand of their enemies, because they sought after the gods of Edom. You see, when you worship false gods, God plans to take you out, because that's not why you're here. And these being the house of David, that's God's chosen people, they certainly don't need to be worshiping false gods. They need to worship Almighty God. That's why they are in power, because God put them there. And yet, they still do it. So, Joash, the king of Israel, went up, and they saw one another in the face, both he and Amaziah, king of Judah, at Bethshemesh, which belongeth to Judah. So on home turf, he went and met with the other king. Keep in mind that Israel and Judah are still separated. They're the same tribe, but they're separated at this moment because they had a falling out years and years ago with another king over similar problems. And Joash, the king of Israel, took Amaziah, king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, at Bethshemesh, and brought him to Jerusalem, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. I missed one. And Judah was put to the worse before Israel, and they fled every man to his tent. Yeah, so instead of meeting peacefully, they got into a fight. And then Israel tore him down. Anyway. And he took all the gold and silver and all the vessels that were found in the house of God with Obed-Edom, and the treasures of the king's house, the hostages also, and returned to Samaria. And Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived after the death of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, for 15 years. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah, first and last, behold, are they not written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel? Yes, they are. Now, after the time that Amaziah did turn away from following the Lord, they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish, but they sent to Lachish after him and slew him there. So he's dead. And that's where we're going to stop for today, ladies and gentlemen. We'll pick up tomorrow night, 25:28. Man, what an intense, fantastic read that was. I hope it touched your heart. I hope it made you curious. I hope it causes you to reach out with both hands to your father and build a relationship with him. Talk to him like you would talk to anybody else. Tell him what's on your mind, what you're afraid of, what your problems are, what your needs are. Ask him how he is. That would be a switch. Do something. Make a relationship with your father. Find out why you're here. Find out what all of this is about. And while you do that, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and the bell icon so you get notifications of when I'm going to be online and when my new videos drop. Smash that like button. It's free. It's effortless. It's right in front of you, and it really does help the channel with the algorithms, and it helps us get recommended to other people. That's what we're here to do, so help us do that, won't you? Share this video with people you love. Here's an idea. Share with somebody you don't love. Bring them into our family. Make them part of the fold. Be part of their solutions, not part of their problems. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you're thinking about. Question me, curse me, bless me, challenge me, confront me, conform with me. Drink my Kool-Aid. Make your own Kool-Aid as long as you're thinking critical. That's what I want. Critical thought coming from that brain of yours. And hey, if you love the Word of God and you can see the value in what I'm trying to build here and you'd like to help out, you'd like to be part of this special thing that we're doing, if you feel led to send tithes, offerings, or love offerings to this humble ministry or any other for that matter, if you would like to just pat me on the back and say, hey, happy birthday, Jake, I got your back. You can do that. You can support this work by going to paypal.me/Jake Johnson Band, paypal.me/Jake Johnson Band, or if you're a Cash App user, you can go to $Jake Johnson Band, $Jake Johnson Band. Every little bit helps. It's a win-win. It's a blessing to me. It's a blessing to you too, because God, he notices these things, and we do live in a reciprocal universe. Need proof? Read the scriptures. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Ask, and ye shall be answered. Give, and ye shall receive. That's how it works. You reciprocate, it reciprocates back to you. Simple as that. I will do everything in my power to be worthy of that support, and I will answer all of your questions and comments, as I always do every single time. Now, let me scroll up and read what I missed in the chat, which probably not much because nobody's talking. All right, we'll start here. ATL says, what temple, first or second? Probably the second one. Maybe the first one still. I don't know. Amanda says, hi, ATL. ATL says, hello. Alpine says, hi. Treasure box. Garden gnome, your turn. Alpine says, the British monarchy is crazy money. Yeah. Groves. Yes, Groves. Oh, tree huggers. You got it. You understand perfectly. Basically Democrats. Anyway, Alpine smiles. April says, amen. Hello all. Much love, says April. Hello, April. Much love back at you. Amanda says, much love, April. Heart, heart. Lisa Reen says, happy birthday, Jake. Happy birthday to me. Thank you. Alpine says, smoted. Lisa Reen says, slew. April says, hi, Lisa Reen. Good to see you, love. And everyone new in chat, much love. Heart. Face with breasts. Prayers. Lisa Reen says, April. Prayers and hearts. Amanda says, great read. And Alpine says, very nice. Thank you. You're absolutely welcome. It's my pleasure to do so. And I hope that we learned something today. I know I did. Coffee's good. Questions, criticisms, thoughts, you name it. I'm here. It's been a lovely birthday. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for all your birthday wishes. And Banner Sunday? Banner Sunday. Banner Sunday. I don't know what you mean. But I like where your head's at. Banner Sunday. Cole says, I think you explain things very well. Thank you, Cole. I appreciate you. I think you received my explanations very well. There. Not you, the bug. God answering prayers. God does answer prayers. Sometimes the answer is no, but he does answer prayers. Banner Sunday, God answering prayers. The breast-looking emoji is a party popper, LOL. Oh, party popper or party pooper? It is kind of a breasty-looking emoji, isn't it? I don't see very well, so all I see is a smiley face with little cylindrical, spherical thingies at the bottom. I don't know what those are. They look like breasts to me. If a smiley face can have breasts, it's okay. There's a such thing as female smiley faces, I suppose. Yes, says Alpine. Lisa Reen says, I think it's blushing cheeks. It might be. Alpine says, yes, it does. It does look that way, but it could be blushing cheeks. I don't know. Well, I would have painted them red if it were blushing cheeks, though, and put them, on his cheeks. Amanda says, it's hands, LOL. It don't look like hands. You look at that emoji, it looks like something else. Just say it. If it had a little hangy down thing, you wouldn't say, that's its leg. That would obviously be a male smiley face. Come on. I wasn't born last night. CWL says, I was asked to keep a secret, but my sister-in-law is going to a specialist in Little Rock tomorrow. Well, if you were asked to keep a secret, then you should keep that secret and not tell anybody. And if that's the secret you were asked to keep, you have failed. That being said, let's pray for CWL's sister for whatever she's going to see a specialist for. Father, we ask that you watch over CWL and his family and all of these people in the chat, and your will be done always, Father. We ask that you guide them and direct them and keep your hands on them and in their lives and show them your grace and love, Father. Thank you in your Son, Jesus Christ's precious name we pray. Amen. Many thanks, says CWL. You're welcome, sir. It was a banner Sunday because I watched God answer yes today. That's fantastic. If he answered one of your prayers today, fantastic. That's beautiful. And I know that he does. He answers my prayers. Amanda says, amen. And I'm glad that your prayer got answered. Alpine says, prayers. Amen. Doubt it, says Cole Creek Croft. You doubt it? I don't. Double, not doubt it. Got it. Okay. Amen. Double amen. Got it. Okay. Sorry about that. We all have trials to go through. We all have sicknesses to attend to. We all have bodies that are breaking down over time. That's the second law of thermodynamics. Anything in motion tends towards chaos. It's just the way that it is. But we can ask for intercessory prayer and we can ask the Lord to intervene. And if it's in his will and in his plan to do so, he most certainly has done so before and will do so again. Satan brushed your keyboard. LOL. Yeah. Entropy. That's right. Entropy is the second law of thermodynamics. You are correct, sir. And that is true regardless of what species you are or what element you're made of. Everything tends towards chaos. Everything that moves will break down eventually and stop moving. Everything that exists will eventually fade away. Everything that lives will die, and sometimes horribly. That's just the nature of life. It is not a punishment to die. That is just the nature of the body breaking down. And sometimes, because of the world we live in, because of the chemicals we pump into the air and the preservatives we put in our food and the things we digest. Sometimes that death can be horrid and way too soon. But you can't blame God for that because it ain't God's doing, because he designed you to live for 1,000 years. It's us that screwed that up. Cole says, actually, I haven't felt at the prime of life until eroding to Nosferatu. I call it a win. Saves on Halloween costumes. Oh, clip your fingernails, man. For God's sakes, file down them long teeth. Nosferatu, that's a gruesome looking feller. I hope you don't look like that, Cole Greatcroft. Although we do all tend to get a little haggard there at the end. I know I'm getting that way. My hair's turning all colors of shades, not brown. And my skin is starting to hang a little. You see that? I'm 1 year closer to 50 today. And I ain't liking it a bit. I'm like 49 going on 317. That's what it feels like. But I still have cute dimples, so that's all that matters. Cole says, well, no pitchforks or torches from the townsfolk yet, so maybe I'm not that bad yet. Maybe. People start sniffing around and, buying lots of garlic. You need to be worried. CWO says, I'm looking forward to my senior citizen discount. I know, right? 49 looks good on you, Jake, says Amanda. Thank you, sweetheart. White stripe, but my face and my red hair. You got a white streak in your red hair? Is that what you're saying? You got one of these? I'd like to have one of those, but I got white stripes all through my hair, and none of them are symmetrical and, hang down pretty like that. But I bet that's gorgeous in that red hair. I love a redhead, by the way. My mama was a redhead. And that's just a beautiful thing. God bless you. By the way, little piece of trivia for you in case you didn't know. Adam was a redhead, and so was David, and so was Absalom, his son. And Jesus, while not redheaded, definitely came from a lineage of redheads. So, you are in good company, my dear. Cole Greatcroft says, CWL, it's funny, really. I'm suddenly getting all these senior discounts from internet to power to the dispensary. Lisa Reen says, my mama too. My mama was a fiery auburn redhead all the way up to the day she died. It was a little gray, but it was still, you could see the red in it. Cold Creek says, your mama? My mama. I wish you could have met my mama. You would have loved her. She was a pistol. I would have definitely shown her off on the channel had she survived to see it happen. I did love my mama. She was my best friend. I wish each and every one of you could have experienced her. CWL says, right on, CCC. Cold Creek says, with all due respect, ma'am. Confetti ball, found it. Uh-huh. That's a weird looker. That looks like an octopus with bulging eyes. Cold Creek Cross says, really helps when dealing with deputies. Not like I have to a lot, but I do see a difference between fitting the profile earlier in life. I hear you. Amanda says, Mama Lynn was a hell of a woman. I sure miss her. Me too. Me too. I miss her every day of my life. But she's with her father now and probably arguing with him something fierce as we speak. That don't bode well for us here on Earth, by the way. But, What can you do? Salute to Mama Lynn on your word alone. All I need. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I do wish you could have known her. She's a great conversationalist, smartest person I knew. Kept me on my toes, kept my teeth sharp, and loyal to a fault. Everyone loved my mom, says Lisa Reen. She was a Navy officer's wife with 4 boys and me. Wanted me to be a Shirley Temple replacement. Aha. Life is short, says CWL. Yes, it is. It happens in a blink of an eye. And think about this. You're going to be dead way longer than you've ever been alive. Way longer. In that respect, life is just a blink. It's just a blur and it's over. Alpine says, aw. Yeah, you would have loved my mom. Cold Creek says, I like to think I feel them all in the background power of the universe and fueling every sunrise. That's a lovely thought. CWL says, so true. Lisa Reen says, I wish I had met your mom. I wish you had too, Lisa Reen. I think you ought to probably been fast friends. She was very highly intelligent, very well-read, and a real woman of God. That's hard to find these days. But she was in that Bible every day. I saw her every day sitting there drinking her coffee and reading the Bible. Probably where I got it from, for what that's worth. I pale in comparison to her, though, by all measures. I wish that I was as godly as she was. And as strong. I wish I was as strong as she was. But I'm just here doing what I can do. But I get strength from you guys, and y'all make me feel like I'm accomplishing something. So I appreciate that. It means a lot. The last thing I want to do is leave this world having left nothing in it to make it better. Hopefully I can achieve that. Cole says, I'm going to die alone. Yay, sigh. Live stream? Actually, I intend to hang on a while and then transfer my brain into a jar and hook it up to Netflix. If they keep going the way they're going, buddy, that might be possible. Have you met Elon? Anyway, I hope you don't die alone. And if you get in that position, you send me a text and I will come up there and stand by your side while you pass on. I mean that. Did you do something special for today, Jake? Yeah, I went to my sister's house and had dinner. That's pretty much it. But it was a lovely dinner. Besides the great read. Yeah, that's special. There you go. There's something special. No, I didn't do much today. It was been raining all day. And I braved it to go over to my sister's house. And we had a nice, lovely home-cooked meal. And that was lovely. And we had a conversation for a while. And that was great. And then I rode back home so I could do the podcast. Alpine says, yes, nice meeting you all. God bless. God bless you too, Alpine. Please don't be a stranger. Come back. We miss you around here. This goes on every Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, around 8 o'clock on Sunday and 8:30 every other night. Don't be a stranger. This move is killing me. I hope it don't kill you, honey. You'll get there. Take a breather. Take it slow. Take it easy. You'll make it. Amanda says, it's nice meeting you, Alpine. Cole says, I hate moving. Me too. I don't plan on doing it anymore unless I have to. I moved around a bunch when I was a kid. Lisa Reen says we all die alone, surrounded by people or not. True that. Alpine says, I've been moving for 2 months. Well, geez, lady, step on it. What's the hold? No, I'm just kidding. It'll take your time. You'll get there. Cole says 7 times in the past 6 years. Now they'll have to drag me out of here. Right? Alpine says, thanks, Amanda. Yeah, there's good people here, Alpine. Every one of them. I vouch for them all, including you. Amanda says, you're welcome. Well, it's about time for Walter Davis to pop in. I'm just about to head off. April, are you still there, honey? Kev? More to come, eh? I just finished my move here in October with the library retrieval mission. No more. Well, you got your library. That's all that matters. And that was a heck of an ordeal. I remember watching the video. Lisa Reen says, LOL. You guys are awesome. Thank you all so much for being here with me tonight. It means a lot. But alas, it's 9:35 and it's about time for me to go to bed because I turn into a pumpkin at 10. I got to get up and go to work in the morning. Hammer out another week. Save some more. I got lots of going to do in the next 2 months. For the latecomer statement, yeah, about time for Walter to show up. He usually shows up about 5 minutes before I leave. Usually while I'm saying goodbye. So then I hang around a little longer so I don't make him feel like I'm leaving just because he got here. There is no set limit on the amount of time I can do this thing, but I feel like an hour is plenty enough Bible, because after that, it's just going in one ear and out the other, even with me, and I'm reading it. So an hour is plenty. And then, 20 or 30 minutes of comments and Q&A, that's plenty. Weather is still holding out here, says Cole. It's raining like crazy here. Alpine says, everyone, thank you, and happy birthday, Jake. Thank you, Alpine. Happy birthday back. I appreciate it. CWL says, last time I moved was to Wyoming and back to Oklahoma. I hear Wyoming is a beautiful state. Lisa Reen says, happy birthday. Rest tonight. I'm gonna chill out and get some sleep and get up and work in the morning. Happy birthday, Jake. I hope you have many, many, many more, says CWL. Thank you, sir. I'm intending to. I ain't trying to go out like this. Believe that. I got some stuff to accomplish before I go. And I like it. No people, says CWL. A lot of mountains, huh? A lot of desert. A lot of kind of stuff. Cole says, high 40s to a solid 50 Friday. Last year at this time, it was 20s and a ton of snow. Cattle, pheasants, turkeys are enjoying it at least. Yeah. Amanda says, happy birthday. I hope you enjoy your evening. I'm sure it will. Thank you. Appreciate that. I love you guys. I appreciate all of the nice wishes. It's all flat in my parts. Grizzlies and the men in the mountains. Yep. It's all flat everywhere. Didn't you know? The earth is flat until it's not. Cole says, and nice to hike and explore without worrying about rattlesnakes. Go to bed, Jake. Well done. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. I'm going. I'm heading that way. Weather. Ugh. Yes. Yes, it's been quite rainy today. Not ideal for a birthday, but it has its beauty. At least the ground is getting the moisture it needs. Are you still in Wyoming, Alpine? Says Cold Creek. Lisa Reen says, true, flat AF, LOL. CWL says, I still want to at least make it become an ambassador. I have long stopped hoping to be president. Oh, you still want to be an ambassador, huh? Well, you can be ambassador of Jakistan. How about that? You can go out and ambass all the people you want. Yes, says Alpine, but I'm going to Pine Bluffs, Wyoming. Cole says, I really liked Cheyenne when I drove through. I recall mountains in between, I guess. I don't know. I've never been there. Right on, says CWL. 2 thumbs up. About time for my stomach to start hurting again. I drank some juice powdery stuff last week, and it nearly killed me. I think I got heavy metal toxicity, and my stomach's been hurting every night ever since. And it starts about dark and don't stop until time to get up in the morning. Just a pain in my gut. I think that stuff is still in there. I-90, longest highway, so flat. Put you to sleep, says Alpine. Yes, I don't like that. I'd be zonked out. I don't know what it is, man. I can drive in town all day long, from daylight to dark, going from place to place to place to place to place. No problem. Drive all day long. You put me on a highway, and in 5 minutes, it's... I don't know what that's all about. 5 minutes, I'm out. Especially if there's nothing for a long ways. Cole says, whoa, way east, almost to Nebraska. I recall I-70 through Kansas. Gah, take a nap, wake up, change lanes, go back to sleep. Ha-ha, yeah. Alpine says, me too, 40 miles nearly killed me, LOL. You got to watch out for that. Just zonk right out. Be hypnotized by the road. CWL says, Kansas. Enough said. All right. Nothing in Kansas but corn and flatlands. It literally is flatter than a pancake. Everybody in Kansas is a flat earther as a matter of course. Cole says, and lots of soybeans, right? Cops everywhere too, says Alpine. Y'all got those like Indian cops that drive pickup trucks though, don't you? And have long hair and wear cowboy hats. Or is that just a TV show? I don't know. I'd like to think it's that way in real life. Cole says, I lived in DeSoto, Kansas, and the soybean fields were stinky. Wheat. Lots of wheat, says Alpine. Yeah, I used to have soybean fields out behind my house. No, says Alpine. Oh, darn it. I like to think of the world being like the show Longmire, where the cop just as easily might show up to work on a horse as he would his pickup truck. And I guess I just have to imagine that world. Cold Creek Cross says, yeah, the kind with mirror sunglasses and chewing on a sprig of grass, right? I have lived in several places, says Lisa Reen. I love Kansas. CWL says, I will not ever drive through Kansas during the day. I can at least pretend that there is something besides 200 miles of just corn, right? I went to Kansas one time. I flew into Kansas City, Missouri, and drove across the bridge to Kansas City, Kansas. So apparently there's 2 Kansas Cities. I didn't know that until I got there. They drive sports cars, says Alpine, in the drug highway across the USA I-80. Lisa Ring says, that's the citiest city we got. I bet. Cold Creek says, I cut down south from a trip back to Montana. Not the direct route. And some secondary roads there were like Oz. Rolling hills, villages, stunning. CWL says, my pappy was born in Kansas City, Missouri. Looks like Kansas, says Alpine. Ah. Well, North Carolina is flat and green and has lots of fields. So it basically looks like Kansas too, but with more trees. Cold Creek says, right on, CWL. I went to high school there. Began working in hospitals, like 8 of them in town. Bet one where your dad was born. It's a small world after all. Cole says, on the Missouri side, Kansas was later in life, right? Well, I went down there to audition a drummer, or across there. I went across there to audition a drummer. So I flew there, stayed for a week, and flew back. Turns out he wasn't the guy, but he was a nice guy. A little weird, though. Strange laws in Kansas. And also, I went to rent some movies while I was there, and on the new release wall, they had movies that I saw 5 years ago on the East Coast. And I don't know if that's a thing where they propagate throughout the country that way, but I thought it was odd that the new releases were movies I saw 5 years ago. Go figure. Anyway, I made that observation. That was back when there was a such thing as a movie rental place. Now there's not, so there is no modern equivalent other than Netflix. Chill. Alpine says, cool. CWL says, probably, but I don't know the name of the hospital. Cole says, St. Luke's Hospital of Kansas City, Baptist Memorial, St. Joseph, Swanee Mission Children's Mercy. One of those. Lisa Reen says, cross the river, the Arkansas, and you move from Kansas City to Kansas City, Missouri. Yep. That's correct. Cold Creek Cross says, yep, that would be quite the bit of trivia. I know my dad was born in Chicago, but that's it. My father, I assume, was born in Georgia, because that's where he lived all his life, and that's where I was born. I miss Blockbuster and movie galleries at CWL. Me too. I don't understand why they did away with that. It seems like they shot themselves in the foot as far as money, because the Blockbusters I've always seen have always been packed, and then one day they were just not there anymore. Seems like they shot themselves in the foot. I think they're paying for that now when they found out this streaming thing ain't what it's all cracked up to be, that people don't want to pay that much for individual streaming companies. Redbox doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. No, it doesn't. And also, there's no camaraderie, and you can't go up and ask the desk clerk which is the good movies. You can't have a repertoire with the patrons. You can't stand there and gaze across all of the new releases. There's a lot that's missing because that's no longer a thing. I agree with you. Cole says, yep, or in South KC, where I lived, it was State Line Road, 4 lanes. We could have Kansas City beer on one side and get busted on the other side. Lisa says, I miss Blockbuster too. I know, just don't seem right, does it? Some things, just because you can do something don't mean you should. I feel the same way about driverless cars. Don't do that. You're going to screw up like 80% of the workforce the minute you go to driverless cars, and it's not going to work the way you think it's going to work. A lot of people are going to die for that. So don't do that. Just because you can don't mean you should. And bring back Blockbuster, by the way. What movies suck and what movies don't, says CWL, right? Cold Creek Cross says, I like the pawn shops in Helena with billions of CDs for $1. Like a Blockbuster, but you own it and you have to take what you can find, right? That's something. Internet ain't cheap too. That's right, Alpine. Internet ain't cheap, and then you have to pay for each individual if you want Disney or if you want Hulu or if you want Amazon or if you want Netflix or Peacock or whatever. Stop it already. Let's go back to Blockbuster, where all movies go to Blockbuster and we can rent them and watch them. Seemed like a no-brainer. Lisa Reen says, I miss Hastings with the books, movies, and coffee, etc. I don't know about Hastings. That must be a thing. Hastings was awesome. That must be a Western thing, because we don't have that here. We got Books A Million and Barnes & Nobles here. Lisa Reen says, Cole, those were the CDs from Blockbuster. They sold for $1. CWL says, they always had the hard find CDs and movies. Alpine says, I agree. Cold Creek Cross says, I still have a suspicion the net will go down one day. I agree. If power's still on, I have plenty of DVDs, hundreds. And did I mention a library? Hard copy paper. Well, you'll be set for entertainment, won't you? Cole says, Hastings out here went out of business, but I love them too. Good store. So I guess that's the equivalent of Barnes & Nobles or something like that, where they have everything, books and magazines and toys and movies and music and all kind of stuff. I'm assuming. I don't know. But good store. Anyway, there's a lot of things that should go back to being the way they were. For example, what is the deal with putting everything on your phone? I didn't have a problem having an iPod. I liked it. I like having a laptop. I don't need my phone to do everything. If it'll make phone calls, that's a good start. Why do you have to have everything in your phone? I don't get that. Is there something wrong with having a desktop computer? Is that old school? I don't know. Lisa Reen says, the net is Satan's only way to be omnipresent. Just my thoughts. I think you're absolutely right, but I also think it's a double-edged sword. I think you can do just as much good with the internet as you can do evil, but both are there for the taking. And you could definitely fall down a rabbit hole and do bad stuff all the time on the internet and never get anything good out of it. Or you could watch podcasts like this one and get something from it. You can learn from it. You can use it as a tool. You can use Google to the effect of they're giving the information that's credible and learn from that. Or you could watch porn all day. I guess you could go either way. But I agree with you there. CWL says, I have so many DVDs, I could watch movies all day for a year and not watch the same movie twice. I have so many movies, but they're all on hard drives, and I could never watch all of them. I have more movies than I could ever watch. Alpine says, all music albums, too many to carry, LOL. Well, what's wrong with an iPod where you can put 10,000 songs in a little box? I like that. And that's what it does. It plays music, and it did it well. My phone, on the other hand, has too many things going on, and it doesn't do any of them well. It just does them. So don't need all that on my phone. I like my phone to make phone calls, possibly check my email, but that's as far as it needs to go. Music, I could have on a separate device. Internet, I could have on a separate device, minus the checking my email part. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm old. What can I say? I grew up when there was no such thing as a DVD or a VHS for that matter. That came out in my lifetime. Cassettes came out in my lifetime. So, I'm part of the last generation that knows what it's like to not have complete access to the internet. Nobody in this generation knows what that's like. Nobody in this generation has ever drank from a garden hose, for that matter. They don't know what that's like. They've never had a key to their house when their mom wasn't home when they got home from school so they could get in. None of that. So maybe I'm just old. Cole says, that's what I do not have a phone. That's why I do not have a phone. Other than the inherent red flag I get when seeing absolutely everyone has one and worships them so much, right? Yeah, that is a red flag. And by the way, it's in your right hand and your forehead. I'm just saying. I don't think it's the thing, but it's damn sure that kind of thing. Alpine says, yes, just let it be a phone only, please, right? Cole says, real reasons. Number one, I would be on it all the time, like my desktop computer in mini size, which it is. Two, I would lose and or drop it within a week. Amen, brother. See there, Walter Davis. Good evening, Walter. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the show. Amanda says, hi, Walter. You're just in time, as I prophesied. Cold Creek Croft says, Walter Davis, announcing Mr. Walter Davis Orchestra. Yo, Walter. Lisa Reen says, I don't watch TV. I only have my phone. Well, I've actually stopped watching TV. I have several TVs, and I don't watch any of them because I've got that Roku thing, and that was a new thing for me. I got it because somebody gave it to me, and I put it on, and I spent all my time flipping through channels to see what was on, and none of my time watching anything that I wanted to watch. So I just turned it off, and now I will just download something if I want to watch it, and I'll watch that, and then I'll go about my day. And I watch YouTube because I can pick what I want to watch, curate it in my mind in real time, and watch it. So I stopped watching TV, but I don't disagree with you there, Lisa Ray. CWL says, ever heard of an encyclopedia? I have an encyclopedia. Heard of it? I've read it. What are you talking about? Alpine says, I'll crank up my Victrola. Yeah, that's crazy. You have a Victrola? I would sell that thing if I were you. Lisa Reen says, here he is. Hi, Walter. Walter says, hi, Jake, Montana, Alpine, CWL, Lisa Reen, April, Amanda, everybody in chat. Alpine says, Walter. And Walter says, when I moved, I gave my Victrola to my brother. Alpine says, darn, I thought I was the only one. CWL says, kids today have no clue what an encyclopedia is. Kids today have no clue what a punch in the face is. I think everybody should be punched in the face at the age of 15. Hard. Like break your nose hard. That changes your perspective on life a little. Walter says, I only watch TV when I go in to see my mother. She's glued to Fox News. As she should be, Walter. Yeah, I quit watching TV. I quit watching the news. I used to watch all the channels, CNN, WMSNBC, Fox, to get a fair and balanced view of the world. But the last election with Trump, 2020, I guess it was, I realized that I spent most of my time being mad at the TV, and it was getting to me. I was like getting stressed out watching the news. So I quit watching everything but Fox because everything else made me mad, angry. And then Fox started making me angry, so I just quit watching everything. Kids today are just so, CWL says. Lisa Reen says, I'm sorry, Walter. My mom was glued to TV too. Alpine Growth says, see it? It's not worth that much, or I would. Sell it. Sell it. I'm talking about the Victrola. Really? I thought they were collector's items. Who knows? I don't know. Seems like it would be, though. Cole says, albums are great. Could probably adopt this beautiful vintage new home sewing machine I found in the coal shed to play them. Probably low fidelity. You probably could. It has a needle. CWL says, I watch only 2 channels, and neither one of them have the news. Cole says, so many beautiful things were abandoned here. I have been reverse hoarding from the sheds, dumps, and fields. That's sounds like so much fun to me. I am such a pack rat. I would love to get into all those antique things. I just love that kind of stuff. Alpine says, I can get antenna TV, but I don't even turn it on anymore, right? I quit paying for cable and all that. I don't want none of it. Also, the movies all suck because they're all shoving some kind of propaganda down my throat, so I quit watching movies. Very seldom does a movie come out that I actually want to see, and most of the time that disappoints me. Every now and then, like Top Gun Maverick was pretty good. Pretty good. There was some stuff in it I didn't like, but it's pretty good. The movie The Killer was pretty good. Pretty good. There's still some stuff in it I didn't like, but it was pretty good. The rest of them, garbage. Anyway, I quit watching TV. I don't listen to the radio because I play music for a living. The last thing I want to do is hear more of it afterwards. And the only thing I watch is documentaries and podcasts, people talking all the time, philosophy and Bible studies and things like that, to keep my mind focused on the goal at hand, what I'm trying to achieve in my life. So I'm pretty boring. That's what I'm trying to say. Cold Creek says, like a 1862 salt glazed seltzer jars from Germany. Handcrafted cedars. Jake, this is exactly what you are saying. I'm the same way. Tons to paw through. I know, right? I can't stand it. I love old things. The older, the better. If I could find a shed full of old guitars, I would be in heaven. I love it. If you find an old guitar, I want it. Walter says, you can get a boat antenna that still picks up channels, right? Alpine says, right, Cold Creek, got cool stuff. Videos, too. I know, he takes pictures of all that good stuff. You ought to do like a pickers channel. I'm just throwing it out there. You do what you want to do. But if I were you and I had access to that many antiques, I would like start showcasing them and giving histories to them and things like that. People love that kind of thing. Like Pawn Stars, but with old stuff. Think about it. Just build your little table with a nice little cover on it and put it out in the yard where you got a nice pretty view in the background, and set that old thing up and do a real slow pan around it and show it move and work and all that, and clean it up, and then give a history on it and talk about where it was made and who made it and what it was used for. Man, you would have all kinds of viewers. That sounds like a great fun thing to do. CWL says, Hollyweird doesn't know how to make good movies anymore. Nope. You know why? Because all the old guard died and all the young people didn't learn anything. So now they're making movies, but they don't have any literary background or any historical significance to their lives. They've never been in a World War II or anything like that. So they don't have anything to fight for. And they just push propaganda nonsense, woke nonsense. That's all they know how to do. They don't know how to tell stories. Not one of them has ever read The Hero's Journey. Campbell, I believe it is. Is it Campbell? I think it is. Starts with a C. Carpenter, Campbell. Can't remember. Anyway, The Hero's Journey is an important book for people that write stories, and ain't nobody read it. They don't know. So you get the same movie over and over again. It's horrible. Cole says, landlords take. Most everything's been moved out long ago. Anything left is junk as far as I am concerned. I used to work at the Montana Historical Society. This is archival stuff. I hear you. Well, it was a thought. Lisa Reen says, the news is always propaganda. Yep, left or right. Left wing, right wing, same bird. Know what I'm saying? Alpine says, a paper clip is magical for an antenna. No joke. Put in a cable hole. I've done it. Walter says, it looks like a radar dome but they work. As long as they work. Yeah, pickers, says Alpine. Cold Creek says best. There are whole abandoned ranches and farms, 3 in range. I looked at one the other day and was all furniture still there, wrecked, but even washing machines that probably worked. Cool. Me and my sister used to go to abandoned houses when we were kids and go, rummage through it and look through all the books and stuff. Because back then they seemed to be houses that were just full of stuff that nobody lived in for years, and it was all covered in dust. And it was like we were treasure hunting. We never took anything except for a book we took one time, and we still have that book, by the way, since we were children. And it's weird. It was written by a spy, and there's some spy stuff going on in that book, but whoever lived in that house never came home, so whatever. Anyway, it's very interesting. But we used to love to go to those old abandoned houses and just walk through them and just observe history. So I love that kind of thing. Cole says, oh, I did a video on just about every piece and still in the weeds viewer-wise back on MVTV. I may re-upload here on Coal Creek Croft. That might be cool. May just have been a have to grow kind of thing. Took me 5 years to get where I'm at, which ain't much. Walter says, his Montana Vigilant channel has videos of trash piles. They were cool, says Walter Davis. Yep. Cole says, Walter can testify. Pits full of old engines and parts. Steampunk DIY mobile bale hoists out of old GMCs. Then add the old field equipment, harvesters, tillers, question mark. Valiant Thor, what's up, my brother? Good to see you. There is a disturbing trend emerging in the media wherein they seem to feel it's their duty to determine which ideas people are allowed to be exposed to. Yes, Valiant Thor, that is correct. It's called social conditioning, and they've been doing it since the 40s, and they're just doing it blatantly today. They did it back then. We just didn't catch on. But, yes, it's very, very apparent that there are gatekeepers as to what you're supposed to think and how you're supposed to think. And if you're not in the club, you're ostracized. It's as simple as that. But there is pushback on that, which is why we can see it so availably now, because there are people fighting against it. And God willing, they'll get some kind of foothold and win. Don't know that they will. I mean, everything is supposed to end at some point. So this may very well be the end, and it don't bode well for any winning at that point. So I don't know if it's going to get any better, but hopefully it does. And if not, then we get to live through a very exciting period in history and watch the world end. How about that? CWL says, Lisa Reen says, for real, Valiant, welcome. And welcome to the channel, by the way, Valiant. Again, I've seen you before, but welcome back. Cole says, sounds right up my alley. Walter says, you can take a staple from a magazine and touch the speaker and the steel case of the wire to the handle, and a payphone will let you talk free. It works in jail. Don't ask me why I know this. Yeah, well, back in the day when they had payphones, you could do things like that. There's all kinds of ways you can get to trunk lines, which a trunk line is a dial tone that doesn't have a number assigned to it. And then numbers are assigned to that trunk line and to ground, which means they use multiple numbers on the same trunk line. And if you know how to access that with a tone or with a certain touch of a wire or a certain little dialer device that used to be sold at Radio Shack that I didn't possibly own for myself, or a little whistle that you could get in a Captain Crunch box, you could call China for free. That's called freaking, and we used to do that back in the 80s, but sadly, payphones are a thing of the past. And I've not figured out how to pull the receiver off of a cell phone yet. Amanda says, hi, Thor. Walter says, hi, Thor. Valiant Thor says, hey, guys. Coal Creek says, that's cool as hell, Walter. I got to test that outside of jail if a regular payphone. Then again, where is a payphone, right? That's what I'm saying. Alpine says, LOL, good to know, Walter. I may need that soon. Well, don't go to jail, Alpine. Please take care of yourself. CWS says, hello, Thor. And Amanda says, like, share, and subscribe, and support Jake. For the love of God, somebody support Jake. He's dying over there. Don't say that. Lisa Reen says, OMG, the schools still teach the same lies to our kids they taught me. Oh, you ought to see some of the things that are in textbooks. I might do a video about it one day, albeit there have been people that have done it better, so there really is no point in me doing it. Just go look up Kent Hovind lies in textbooks, and you'll get all of them, a bunch of them. Anyway, you wouldn't believe what they still teach in schools. It is crazy, the things that are being taught that people believe. Crazy. Lisa Reen says, who still has payphones? Nobody that I know of. CWL says, where are you going to find a payphone in today's society? In the payphone locker under P, I would imagine. CWL says, or a phone book, right? I still get phone books in my driveway. Have no idea why, because I can just Google it. But anyway. Walter says, CWL, day room in jail. Yes, well, there's a payphone in jail for sure. Cold Creek Cross says, they do have one in the Lewis and Clark jail pods. No need to ask how I know that. I trust you all. Bunch of criminals in here is what we got. All right, boys and girls, it is 10:11 and I'm tired, so I'm going to bed. Are long distance calls still an issue beyond calling outside the country? You know, I don't know, Cold Creek Croft. I think you can call anywhere on a cell phone. Pretty sure. I don't know if as long as it's like in the country. I think. I don't know. I hadn't seen any long distance carrier commercials on TV or on the radio or anything in a long time. I don't know if it's still a thing or not. Be weird if it isn't, though, isn't it? Think about all the years we thought about AT&T and who's our carrier and, you know, all that good stuff. And then all of a sudden it's just not a thing anymore. I don't even know if phone companies are a thing anymore. So go figure. Amanda says, you're not going to find a car phone either anymore, right? But yeah, I'm talking on one. Lisa Reen says, I have a phone book. It's old, but the online yellow pages are just as bad, right? Amanda says, night all. See you tomorrow night. Have a good night. Night 3 times. Like it. Walter says, not a criminal. I'm a rebel. Right on, Walter. Rebel without a cause. Gotcha. I'm reformed, says CWL. And Cold Creek says, party just got started. Sure. I'm 2 hours ahead without any reason for existence tomorrow. So, thanks for your time. Well, I do have to go to work, but it ain't because I want to. It's because I need the money. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I love the conversation. I wish I could talk to you guys all night long, and I would ordinarily, but I do have to get up. And, you know, I'm old, so have a great night. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for making my birthday so special. I appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, enjoy your wild America, says CWL. Have a great night. God bless you all, and see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.